Welcome everybody to the WCA European Pro Qualifier. We are going into our winners match now. We just saw gamers to take down the Murkies with a 2-0 and advance into the consolation match, but of course we need to find out who they are up against. The winner of the winners match is going to advance to Gamescom. He qualified automatically, and the loser is going to drop down to play against the Polish team. We are ready with the first draft, so we're going to jump right into it to see what those two teams are going to have up their sleeves for us right now. We are looking at Team Liquid going up against Alternate Fancy, and we have the first ban in the game, which is Jaina.
Yep, Team Liquid, king of the specialists. Every specialist under the sun, we will see it. Not that fancy. Very solid team. They are one of the newer teams to really enter the top 10, like as opposed to a lot of the old dogs, if you will. For example, Team Liquid, some of the oldest dogs we have here have been since the very start. Not that fancy, snuck their way in, crept their way up the rankings, did very well in a lot of tournaments, got picked up by Alternate, and they're now running Thrall and stuff like that. Very interesting picks that just seem to work for them.
Yeah, and they don't really have to ban out Zeratul. Usually we see Zeratul as a second ban here, but if you really want to allow that against Team Liquid, there's so many heroes that you could ban out. They could just simply say, all right, we're going to ban something completely different, then Zeratul is still out, then you have to make a choice, and we have a good shot at picking Zeratul ourselves. So right now, Alternate Fancy, they've already shown a couple of interesting drafts earlier on today, but they still stick it out with the standard ban. They go for Zeratul and say like, nope, we don't want to face Zeratul here. The hero is just like too strong, and instead Team Liquid says like, all right, that's fine with us. No melee assassin. We are going to go into Illidan. That is still enough for us, and we have a great setup for the game.
And that's a very interesting first pick, because normally you'd think against most teams you can be like, okay, well they picked Illidan, well we'll just pick Muradin and Uther or something like that just to protect ourselves against them. But Liquid is so solid on everything, you're pretty much better off just picking what you wanted anyway, because no matter what Liquid are going to pick, that Illidan's probably not going down.
Yeah, that Illidan is definitely going to be a menace to deal with. And now Alternate Fancy, what are they going to start with? They are a team that really likes CC chains. They are playing a lot of Muradin with Tyrande. We've seen them earlier with an Uther early on in the game, just like trying to get some CC in there. The Muradin was being played by them. And there is, again, the Uther first for them. We could even see that Muradin that they've been showcasing earlier. And keep in mind that in the late game against an Illidan, they picked Thrall.
Yeah,
on this map.
It worked out very well, and it won pretty much every fight we saw them go into. Thrall versus Illidan, apparently Thrall comes out on top. And that's very unusual due to the... Well, actually, no, it's not unusual. Illidan versus most melee assassins doesn't really come out very effectively, including Zeratul, actually.
He's great in teamfights, though, and especially disrupting the back lane. But now we are still waiting for that second pick on Alternate Fancy. They have several options here. They could also go into, of course, a damage dealer. We still have a Kel'Thas available, or a Zagara, which they prioritized the last one. We have been talking about Zagara. A great hero for vision, for map control, and especially on Sky Temple. We've seen how much Zagara can do in the early game. In the last game that we actually saw, where Gamers 2 was facing the Murkies, it even pushed down the entire bot lane, took down the well before the second temple phase even started.
Yeah, and pre-level 13, when Illidan can get that 6th sense, Zagara Hunter-Killer onto the Illidan, and he's going to be in some serious pain, and the healer has to work overtime before then to really keep him alive. And even then, once you have that 6th sense, Zagara suddenly has 2 Neutralists, so he can just fire out one, 6th sense it, then fires out the other, and you can't do anything about that. You just take the damage. There's the Abathur, though. Liquid just been left with whatever they want, and they can pick up the Rhaegar here to get the well-protected Illidan, or they can do the classic Team Liquid, show all of the bravery, and just not pick their support and just let Fancy ban it.
What they would really like to take here is, of course, Ethereal, or at least that's what we would assume here with this composition that they're currently playing. But as already mentioned, with an Uther already taken, it is getting a bit tricky going not into a healer right now, because there's still the opportunity for the opponent to not only ban one healer out, but then pick a second one against this composition. But an Abathur here, a very solid choice for them. We've seen a lot of Abathur play already today here, and even a couple of first picks, and you could tell that Alternate Fancy was at least thinking about it. But right now, for Team Liquid, it is the Vikings.
God,
They're just
bravery.
saying, like, we don't even care about like picking our tank right now. We are fine with whatever we get. You're going to try and ban out, let's say, Illidan against us. All right, then we have the Rhaegar. You're going to ban Rhaegar, then we get, the Tyrael. Then we can still get Rhaegar. If you ban out Rhaegar, we can take the Tyrael. We have our Vikings already. We get, again, the experience that we already saw in the last game that they played on Lost Temple. They have a great setup here.
All right, so I want your opinion on this. I'm about to run a situation past you. Ban out Rhaegar, pick Malfurion. Malfurion Tranquility as the counter to the Lost Vikings longboat raid in that late game. banning out the Rhaegar, that limits Liquid to Lili.
Lili, on the other hand, it depends a bit on what exactly they're taking with it.
There's
we
the
see
Rhaegar ban.
Rocket, for example, banning or taking even Lili when they are not forced into it. The Rhaegar ban, I like it. I think in this case you really have to make sure that their burst heal is not there. The Malfurion, if I would really take it, it depends a bit on their second pick behind that. I like the double healer composition. The problem is you need to get the damage from somewhere. And you have to pick a tank, and then you have like one pick left. If you go into a Vala maybe, you should be able to get some damage out there. The Kayle is also nice, but what worries me is that power spike at 16 going up against the Vikings. Because once that the Vikings are really starting to gain the momentum for Liquid, you could fall way too far behind to really get good use out of the 16 talent. If you're able to reach at the same level, like if you hit level 16 as Liquid hit 16, then Kayle is great. But I feel like having that weaker early game, you should probably say, and your opponent running such a strong composition with Vikings, it is a risk. It can pay off, but it's a huge risk because Team Liquid is usually not very forgiving. Yeah,
we also have to talk about just the sheer amount of XP the Liquid are going to be getting this game. Vikings, split push. Abathur, split push. Illidan, potential for split push, but probably going Metamorphosis.
Yeah. And the Sylvanas banned to give, at least for now, Illidan a bit more safety. No silence against Illidan, and that's always great. When we had Brightwing still on the height of her reign of terror, looking for friends everywhere, we saw Brightwing plus Sylvanas plus Muradin being the perfect comp against Illidan for the various reasons. Reverberation, Polymorph, and also Silence. And Sylvanas is now currently banned out. You don't really have to like worry about Brightwing too much. It's just too bad these days. And we're having now a Muradin being chosen by Team Alternate Fancy. So I'm very, very curious to see what the next pick is going to be here.
Yeah, they could, in theory, even go for Double Warrior and pick up the Muradin for themselves to go with this Anubarak.
They could. They could even say like, all right, we already have one stun in there. Let's go for Muradin. Let's go for a Tyrael. Because the thing is that I still could see a Tyrael being played as the Warrior on the side of Team Liquid. They haven't picked their Warrior just yet. And if they really want to go deep and dive, then a Tyrael is pretty good with this. Then again, they're probably... they could even go into an Arthur's, like, no matter what they do, this setup is very scary that they have already, even though it doesn't even feature a range damage dealer yet.
Doesn't even have it. Well, the Vikings are filling in for their range damage because they still need support and a Warrior. There's no way they can't pick a range damage.
Very true. They can't even. Yeah.
Unless they decide to go without Warrior, then that's suddenly going to be a huge issue for them.
But yeah, so they're going to rely so heavily on the Viking damage and the even more than I thought.
It's worked for them before. It's worked for them a lot of times before. But even with Malfurion, if like alternate, which they're pretty much stuck with.
But with that, I still feel like they have to go for something aggressive here. And I don't think it doesn't really matter which one they get. If they get like Tyrael or if they get Muradin. Do you think that an Arthas would still work with this then?
I think an Arthas would work with this. It's the whole thing of just pushing into the back line, and Arthas is perfect for that. There's the Muradin coming in from Fancy, not going with what I expected, and going for the, or at least I hoped, and going for the double support and running Malfurion and just really limiting Liquid. Instead, Muradin, very solid, has that reverberation, and they can get the imposing presence on the Anubarak as well.
Yeah, this is... it's very... like, the dream team was, for longest time, was really Muradin together with Anubarak. Especially when we had this, like, big alternate fancy, like, when they were on the height of their play and they were playing on the maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen, this was the match or the particular setup that he couldn't get past. Right now, Malfurion is, of course, being chosen.
And
this makes it also a bit difficult for the opponents to pick a Kalthas here, since Malfurion works really well against that. As their tank, a Tyrael would be a good choice. Tyrael and Arthas are the two that are really remaining here. Johanna, really?
I completely missed Johanna was still available.
Usually she's either banned or not. Yeah, but Johanna is also still an option for them, but it is Tyrael, and I think this is actually the best one of those choices because they can now really go very, very deep, play very aggressive with this. But a very sick setup that they're running here. Double specialists there with an Abathur and also the Vikings. Hive Mind later on
is going to be very good. Fancy, they do have a lot of potential here. They can go for an extra range damage dealer. They can, if they want to, go for a melee. They do have the Uther. It's going to make them very melee heavy, but then again, Illidan is going to be jumping in amongst them to walk amongst the commoners. And there's even the chance they could go. It's very unlikely because it's not something that a lot of EU teams have practiced, going for the whole Korean and Chinese style of running 3 warriors. But no, there's what we expected earlier, the Kayle Fass.
Given the draft that we're seeing, I am still a tiny bit surprised by that. Just because Kael'thas is a great hero, and he has, of course, a lot of damage, but a lot of this comes in on level 16 when you finally get Ignite. With all the experience-soaking advantages that we're now seeing for Team Liquid, they should be able to establish an experience lead, and that makes it very difficult for Kael'thas to start that snowball. Even when you have him there, you have Malfurion with great heal against what we are seeing from Kael'thas. He can use his Tranquility in these fights. He can go for a Storm Shield at level 20, which helps you as well. We have Tyrael on the front line too, which has his own shield that he can supply. So Kael'thas is going to have a tough time, especially since Kael'thas is one of the few heroes in this case that can't rely on a spell shield or on a sprint, so he is going to be jumped the entire time. And Nubarak and Muradin will have to work overtime to make sure that he is not going to be taken out, because Tyrael is going to use that judgment to go for Kael'thas. Illidan is going to jump after him. And then we're also going to have an Abathur that's just saying like, how you doing, buddy? Going to help them out. And with the potential Hive Mind that we have then on level 20, Kael'thas is in a lot of pain. That's where Uther comes into play.
Yeah, but Uther just there to keep the Kael'thas alive, basically.
Yeah. And
like you said, Abathur's going to come in there at high buddy, but he could be coming in at high buddy as a second Illidan.
Yeah.
Double the Illidan for double the fun, and that just leaves the Vikings completely free reign to do whatever they want.
So what right now Alternate Fantasy has to do is, first of all, they have to make sure that they are keeping up in experience, that they don't fall behind. And this is probably going to be the biggest task in the entire game. If they can keep up in experience, then they will have a great level 16 once that Kael'thas really hits that damage. The risk to them is really falling 1 or 2 levels behind, giving the opponent a ton of a ton of experience lead, map presence, therefore, the camps, the boss, the shrines, all these things. If they can really keep on an eye level with Team Liquid until level 16, they have a very good chance of turning this around and suddenly putting pressure on Team Liquid. But that is the danger that they're currently running, and they have to somehow shut down that experience soak that we are going to see from not only the Vikings, but also Abathur. And that is going to be extremely difficult.
So Kael'thas, gathering power, Vikings are very nice and easy stacks, but Illidan, if he gets into the backline, suddenly all your stacks are gone. Or do you rely on the Neverwind with that chance of catching the Illidan that way?
I think really personal preference here, because both of them have you are going to die. I would be very surprised if Kael'thas would be getting out of this game without at least dying a couple of times because of all that pressure that is going to build up upon him. But then again, as you already said, killing Vikings gives you a full stack, and he can get those stacks very easily. So I feel it's really up to the player what his personal preference is, what he feels more. Either way, the game has started. Game number 1, so let's jump into it. We are on Sky Temple, the first game of the best of 3 series starting here now between Team Liquid and, of course, their opponent Alternate Fantasy. To the left side of the map, we have Alternate Fantasy with Krolu on Uther. We are seeing Devis on Nubarak. We have Zagara played by Crosby, Darkmog on Kael'thas, and Bloomby on Muradin. To the right side of the map, it is the Spanish Armada, the Spanish Inquisition, the Undefeatables, Vortex on the Lost Viking, Black Scorp on Illidan, Gran Paquete on Malfurion, Lucifron playing Tyrael, and Falcon on Abathur. This is going to be a great game, a great best of 3, and let's find out together which team is going to take the 1-0 lead in the best of 3 series here.
You had a very good Spanish thing going on until you came up with the Undefeatables. A very bad Expendables knockoff.
Yes.
Oh my god, and he's gone.
Nice, just like that. Oh, look who is here. Who? Oh yeah, Illidan dead.
Yep, well, if they can keep that up the entire game, then this is going to be a very easy alternate victory, but it's never that easy with Liquid.
Yeah, the one thing that I mentioned this before, Alternate Fantasy is a team that loves CC chains. They are really liking all these lockdown heroes, and they have that to a certain extent in this game now as well, thanks to the double front line that has stuns, the Uther, of course, with another stun, and also the Gravity Labs.
Everyone has a stun, including Zagara if you count more.
Yeah. Okay, that's stretching it a little bit, but I guess you're right. So they love those CC chains, and that's what they're trying to use here. But getting a couple of kills the other game would go a long way, since we still expect Team Liquid to take an experience lead sooner than later because of that. Because of that split that they have, especially, of course, once the second tempo hits.
Black Scorp going quite aggressive onto Crosby here, but now having to pull back, but gets a nice heal from Malfurion, and that will keep him nice and healthy.
Yeah, we have also right now a couple of talents taken here in form of Regeneration Master and Conjurer's Pursuit on the side of of Alternate Fancy that really rely on the health. Those Blackscop really deep once again. And here, oh, nice dodge on that stun. Blumby was just jumping in, trying to hit that Stormbolt, but Blackscop jumps away in the last second, and that was a close one. That would have probably meant the second death for Illidan here.
Quite possibly indeed, like you said, very nice evasion there by the Illidan. Vortex is now doing lots of Viking things and is splitting up his Vikings, leaving some in the mid lane, but Dev is coming in from behind, but he's not going to try and fight the Vikings instead. Going to try and help contest this mid-temple with Ufa to push Tyrael back out of it.
Eric the Swift taken on level 4. The talent hits a bit faster for Team Liquid because they, of course, have that experience. Eric is still at the bot lane soaking EXP. And up at the top, they're trying to delay the temple. Blackscop is going so deep. Like,
oh, that's bad. That is really bad. The Guardian.
Wow. The Guardian pushes Zagara off the temple into a corner, and Blackscorp says, hello there, beauty. Hello, gorgeous.
Guardian, and completely dieting. And we do see Kael'thas taking the Gathering Power, which isn't really helping out at the moment because his entire team's dying, and he can't get his damage off.
Wow, 2 heroes down, an entire level ahead after the first temple phase. It isn't even over. There's still a couple of shots there, and Team Liquid says, like, yeah, well, we're going to take that. If you don't want it, of course, let me just, like, move on to the temple real quick and gather those last few shots. We've had Vortex with like Vikings in the middle and the bot lane the entire time, and they took down the wall. I mean, this is a great position this early in the game for Team Liquid.
Yeah, they are looking super strong right now. And Alternate Fancy, though, not out of this yet, but they were looking really nice with those early gangs, but as we've seen so many times in Heroes, early game means actually very little in terms of it because it's so easy to lose when the objective happens.
Yeah, an early kill means basically nothing in Heroes of the Storm because the death timers are still so low that it's not really a problem. It becomes a problem when you're the only hero in a lane and you're missing out on creep waves. Then suddenly the experience that your opponent gets just by taking you down gets like really big. That's a really big advantage there. Blumby is again under pressure. We have, of course, the Reverberation build, but it's again this hybrid build that he uses with the Sledgehammer on level 4 that we've already seen in an earlier game.
Lucifer and Vortex looking to contest this, but Crosby roamed up from the bot lane, realizing what was happening, and is able to chase him back. And that's one of the few times you'll actually see Liquid back away from a raid. They knew that and Alternate, one of the few teams who actually see it coming and are able to deal with it.
Yeah, together with the Illidan, we have also on the side of Rhaegar now a cleanse taken. And as you can see, we have still Abathur with the approach to go Mule over Needlespine. They don't really need the extra damage, in his opinion. They just need to make sure that they are not losing too many structures here.
Yep, Lucifer teleporting back out. He does have a Hunter Killer on him, but he's able to shield up. And Blackscop using that wall to jump away there. Very useful to keep those walls alive when you have people like Illidan and Chen on your side of the team. It may give the other team vision, but I'm sure you'd rather have an alive hero than see that hero die from multiple angles.
Team Liquid is pulling farther and farther ahead, and at this pace, they could get level 10 when the next temple comes into play. It is insane. 14 seconds, that's what they have. Just look at the top lane. Like, Blackscop is still there. He's going for the fort. He's just
ignoring everyone, and there he goes, wall again, and he's completely fine.
It's just like, seriously, when I play Illidan, it doesn't look like that. He's playing another version of Illidan. Like, he has like a... There's a new patch,
beta edition.
Something, yeah, exactly. Something is going on there. Blackscop is just playing a phenomenal game just now. Vortex losing Olaf here.
That's a stack.
Yeah, that's a stack. And at the bot lane, we see now again the temple taken with the first few shots on the side of Team Liquid. But the rotation of Alternate Fancy is there. This is their chance. Can they get the lockdown? No, Lucifer moves back just too fast, just in time.
But they are, Alternate Fancy do have control of the temple now. They are going to get quite a few shots for this. However, Falcon and Eric are, in the form of Vortex, are continuing to soak XP here. Liquid, though, they're not looking to give this up without a fight. Despite it being a 5 versus 3 and a Viking, they're still looking to just back away from this. Liquid just to take the temple.
Liquid takes the temple. Alternate Fancy, they realized that they would hit level 10 in a second, and so they just said, like, all right, let's move back for now. We got a few shots in, but that's all that we have. It's still more than a level lead that we're seeing for Liquid right now. They take, of course, Judgment. We're having them on the side of Abathur with the ultimate evolution. We're having also Tranquility, Metamorphosis, and the Longbow. And up at the top lane, they're trying to go straight for Darkmok. Blackscop is in there. Gravity Lapse is locking him down for a second, but here comes Heroic Ability going into Metamorphosis, and they get the kill against Kael'thas. 3 against 1.5.
Rest in peace, Stack. You will be missed. It didn't really last very long, did it?
No, it really didn't. I mean, when you look at the talents we are having on the side of CrossFire now, even the attempt to go into an additional group spat talent with the Endless Sweep on level 7, and that is extremely strong, but we have just so many heroes that can deal with this. It's not only Abathur with the spikes, it's Malfurion with the Moonfire. It's really tricky just to keep those creatures on the map, and Liquid has been doing a decent job to try and push them back.
With those level 10s, though, we do have an insane amount of lockdown potential coming in from the side of Alternate Fantasy. The Web Blast and the Maw, they could potentially lock down an entire team here, or just lock down 4 of them and leave one person to try and defend. And if I had to guess, that one person will be Illidan. If they can leave Illidan out and kill him off before he can get to escape with their stun lock, then that's a game.
Wow, good kill here in the mid lane, taking down Malfurion, and he's definitely one of the weaker heroes on the side of Team Liquid right now, and they are trying to just use that to pressure the mid lane, but of course the experience soak is happening everywhere. And they stole also the camp to the left side. I mean, just look at this.
Viking
the
bribery.
keep down here is in so much trouble already. The Vikings are everywhere, but now they have to move back. Run, Eric, run!
He's fine. He can heal up now that he's running around with that Eric the Swift Hand, and he now has Jump, having just hit level 13, so he is in no danger now.
Eric pulling a Forest Gumpion, just making sure that he gets out of harm's way before anything happens. Nobody runs as fast as he does. Lucifron at the bot lane is claiming now one temple. One of the Vikings, Eric in this case, is actually already moving straight into the middle. But Crosby, Davis, like all 5 against Eric. That's not fair. That's where Black Scope and Grand Paquette are starting to team up. And we have Falcon on the double Illidan now.
Blumby with the jump. He's going to use the Guardian to push himself away there. Very clever. But he's continuing to be engaged on. He gets out with the stun, though.
Yeah, the copy is down already. We have Abathur now once again up at the top. Black Scorp jumps out. And at the same time, we are seeing now Vortex just rotating his Vikings again, with Eric starting to claim the bot lane.
We actually saw Olaf accidentally hit the boss there. The one Viking boss solo. Here we go. They're going on to Kael'thas in the background here. The Maw only lands onto the Tyrael. Vikings getting killed off very quickly here. They are all here. There's the Longboat raid, and they're going to try and take down Krolu here.
Yeah, they go straight for Crossbear and Krolu. They're trying to drop both of them, but Kael'thas is also starting to get extremely low here. Again, they're starting to jump in. Tyrael is not going deep just yet. Look at the hit points, though. Everybody is so low. The Vikings getting blown to pieces here. Illidan is already down. That was really well played by Alternate Fantasy. It's still a talent lead that we're seeing for Team Liquid, but despite the talent lead, we had Alternate Fantasy take this fight and drop not only a few Vikings, but also getting rid of Illidan.
And they just hit the level 13, so now Liquid are going to be under pressure. We saw Baylog coming down to try to sneak it, but Krolu already here is going to push Baylog out of this. Level 13 talents, we do see double Burning Rage again coming in from the team of Alternate Fantasy and the Mutalisk, the Flamethrower, and the Shrink Ray.
It's still a leading experience that we're seeing for Team Liquid, but it's not really as bad as it was before, so that last fight really helped them. The problem is that not only one Ford died, but also a second one was eliminated in the mid lane now, so that is definitely an issue. Falcon, keep in mind, has his Mule on level 7 that he can use to keep a few of the structures alive, and you already dropped him up at the top to heal out the tower here. Blumby is gonna make sure that that's not gonna happen, but the rest of the team is there with them, and they have a hard camp helping them with a push.
Yeah, and they're probably going to be able to get this, but not without having a fight on their hands. Black Scorp coming in. There's the clone, Falcon, trying to do the damage as well. And Kael'thas able to back out here, but the Abathur clone will take him down, but the Abathur clone goes down to Crosby in the background. Black Scorp taking a lot of damage. Mutalisk is on him. Devis, though, is the one being focused. There is the Burrow Charge. There's the Judgment, though, onto the background of Zagara, who was quite a bit out. She gets Divine Shielded. There's the Web Blast, and down goes Illidan. The Viking Longbow in the background, though. Zagara's so low. The Shrink Ray Tyrael.
Wow, Tyrael takes down Zagara, but there is still, of course, a Nubarak to be considered. But Lucifron has the hat, he has the symbiote, and they're trying to go straight for Nubarak. And Nubarak, getting it, Nubarak is down. They get the kill against Olaf, but it doesn't matter. Level 16 versus level 15, and Abathur is still soaking the top lane experience here, bringing them even farther ahead in EXP. Can they go for boss here? It doesn't look like they can, but they still have a massive lead, and they're just like splitting the heroes again to soak all 3 lanes once more.
Yeah, that fight was a lot closer, but Liquid able to play it out in the end, and that Viking Longbow able to really help them out. Vortex in full retreat with Eric, but he's going to be able to heal back to full, immediately go back in and carry on pushing second. That Alternate Fantasy leave that lane.
When it comes to kills, it's 6 versus 5.25, so it's actually quite interesting to see that those battles in general just went, it's still too one-sided in this regard. 14,000 heal on the Vikings, 10,000 on Abathur. These guys are doing a great job with the soaking, but now we have level 16 for both of the teams, and that means that we are fighting on even talents again, with Alternate Fancy going into Benediction, into the double Hunter Killer. We're seeing finally Ignite, and they're not too far behind, to be honest. That Ignite can do a lot of work. Jump has to be timed perfectly to negate the effect that Ignite could have on the Vikings here.
Crosby getting engaged upon by the real Illidan. There's a nice Divine Shield, though. Will allow him to disengage, but he walks back into the root just to throw down the Bailings. Illidan was caught in the Devouring Maw, and he goes back in. There's the Metamorphosis, and they're going on to Darkmog. He will go down.
Darkmog is down, Kel'Thas is out of the picture, and all of a sudden it looks like Inubarok might fall as well. They get the kill against Zagara first, though, and the tanks are now under so much pressure. 1 down already, 3 kills, and here goes Krolo 2. He used his Divine Shield on Zagara, got jumped. It was a great Divine Shield, but it also meant that there was no way for him to save Kel'Thas.
And once again, Liquid showing that if they choose the initial engagement of a fight, then it is their fight to win. And they are able to do so. They have controlled the temple thanks to Eric, who's not even fighting the Guardians. He's literally just running around healing while he's doing this, while the rest of the team pushes down this keep. And Falcon still getting XP in the bottom lane.
He just doesn't stop. He doesn't really stop. I think he's
addicted.
He's a little bit pissed that the Vikings have more experience than he has, so that's why he's trying to catch up, but he's already 6,000 behind, so
yeah, it's
not going to happen, Falcon. I mean, you
only way he's going to do it is by tunneling out to some forts and slapping them to death to get the fort XP.
I would be game. Like, I want to see that. I want to see that. It would be good. 16 versus 19. Granted, they're going to hit 17 soon, but still, this is a very, very dire situation for Alternate Fancy right now. And the Spanish Armada, they are just, I mean, they have so much momentum going for them right now. They're not going to try and teamfight, though, I feel, before they hit level 20. There's just no reason for them to.
Such a bad idea for them to do so when they're on even. Why would they fight when they're on even talents when they're so close to getting that huge advantage that will just give them an easy fight? However, Alternate Fancy disagree. They want to maybe see if they can at least get a pick. I doubt they want a huge fight, but if they can find anyone here who is on their own, then they may be able to give themselves a good advantage for the next objective.
And that dirty Abathur is still pushing lane after lane with the Simid. I mean, just look at the top lane and the bot lane here. It's just too good. Abathur is making them really work for this. And now they just like move over. They could even try and take the boss. The problem is that, of course, they are already being spotted thanks to the creep. But it doesn't even matter. Alternate Fancy has to defend, and Team Liquid is just saying, like, yeah, we have level 20. What you going to do? You want to fight? Come on.
Kale's just throwing damage at them just to hope maybe he can get a quick and easy kill. Runs into a Viking. Gets Flame Strike down, the Ignite Flame Strike, but now he's very far forward. Zagara getting engaged on. There's the Judgment. More hits, no one. Divine Shield is on Zagara. We'll keep her alive for a bit. Illidan, Metamorphosis into the background, and Crosby's in serious trouble.
Crosby is really in trouble here. Devis as well, down is Anubarak, and he gets nearly bursted away. Tries to escape, but gets dropped by the longboat. And again, the Illidans are jumping in here. They are taking Darkmog down on Kel'Thas. Bloomby is also on the run, and this just looks like another disastrous fight for Alternate Fancy. The Spanish Inquisition showing no mercy, going straight for the core, eager to end this first snap between the two teams here and take the lead in the best of 3 series.
And there is nothing that Alternate Fancy can do about this. Muradin has beat back to base and is just going to, actually he's going to come out just to say hi, but nothing they can do. Team Liquid in dominant fashion, losing a couple fights, but the second they start dictating how the match goes, then there's nothing that Alternate Fancy can do to come back.
At the beginning of the game, we saw the first kill against Illidan, and basically Alternate Fancy just opening up the game with a bang, but then it was the 2 heroes that really mattered the most here. It was Abathur, and it was also, of course, the Vikings soaking the experience and always supporting Illidan. And I have to give some credit, especially here to Vortex and Falcon for the experience soak. It was insane to see how fast they were getting ahead in EXP there. And that allowed, amongst other things, of course, also Black Scop to go completely ham on his Illidan. I mean, he was diving in from the beginning of the game. That 1 kill against Zagara at the top lane, pushed into a corner by the Guardian, and Illidan is looking at it and was like, hey, thank you very much, dude. Jumps in, takes Zagara down, and that was just the beginning of the end, I feel.
On the bright side, we can talk about how Zagara got caught by the Guardian there, but props to Muradin at least for making good use of the Guardian. That's the first time I have seen a Guardian knockback used for an escape. That was really cool. Didn't help, but
in case that you don't know what we're talking about, there was a fight in the mid lane where suddenly Muradin got engaged upon, and Muradin was trying to run away and realized this is never going to happen. But at the same time, the Guardian started to just like go for this cleave move where he just like pushes you away. Muradin turning around into it because he realized that's the only way how I'm going to get out of there fast enough. So that was a very, very nice move that we saw from the alternate fancy player in this case. Bloomby doing really well there. As is, though, Team Liquid took the lead. They are 1-0 now in the best-of-3 series. We're going to head into a short break to allow the players, of course, to get ready for game number 2. And once that we are back, we will have the second draft ready for you for our second game. The winner of this best-of-3 series will qualify for Gamescom, where we will see the European final of the WCA Europe. So this is going to be super interesting. Which two teams are going to qualify from Group A? We're going to find out the first one in this best-of-3 series here right now between Alternate Fancy and Team Liquid. And the second map, if Team Liquid wins it, will already put Team Liquid in a position where they can grab that first spot for Gamescom. So guys, we'll be back after just a few minutes, and then we will have game number 2 ready for you between Alternate Fancy and Team Liquid. So stay tuned.